again. The first pensions were handed out in 1887 when nurses, who were then all women, became the first workers to receive a state-funded pension. There you go. Welcome back. Friday show with Yvette Fielding, Mark Foster and Gabby Roslin. Gabby's going to bring all the other headlines shortly. Stories around today include claims most voters don't want more grammar schools and why 1 in 4 mums could have done without the father there when they gave birth. But we're kicking off our phone-ins by asking if pension reforms that could see 700,000 women be anything up to £1,850 a year worse off than male peers are unfair. 0207 173 5555, the number again. 5 years ago, they decided to raise the retirement age for women from 60 to 65, but incrementally, the two sexes not reaching parity until 2018. And then on April the 6th, they also raised the state pension from £119 a week to £155. Women 63, 64 and 65 before that date will be stuck on the old pension for life, but men the same age will get the new £155 deal when they eventually retire at 65. Is it unfair? As we said, what you gain on the swings, you lose on the roundabouts. Don't forget, there are 10 million pensioners out there who are stuck on the old deal for the rest of their days. They've passed the cut-off point. And as I said earlier, I don't remember women complaining all the time that men had to work 5 years longer than them to get their pension. Well, before the break, Yvette said that friends of her mum's are already falling foul of this change. She said it ought to be sorted out to be fairer, but the costs are £24 billion. It would mean cancelling HS2. Ooh. Mark, you got to hand it to the guy. Yeah. He did the maths, and he worked out that in some circumstances men will be worse off, and in other cases women will be worse off. It all depends on how long you live. And then we get to Gabby, who, like many of us, was completely flummoxed by it and wonders why the government couldn't come up with a system that treated everyone fairly, though she does understand the cost of that could have been huge. So, everyone with us at home, what are people saying, Storm?
We've got Richard on line 4.
Morning, Richard.
Morning, Matthew.
Is the new pension deal fair? Are these women losers?
Right, if I could just explain one thing.
Go on.
The old pension was made up of a basic state pension and the SERPS bit, which was contracted in. Yeah? So it wasn't £119, £119.
That was the average. That was the average.
That has now been combined into one flat basic pension.
Yeah.
But when they did that, all the people who contracted in said, well, that's a bit fair. A lot of people have contracted out and paid less.
Yeah.
So even men do not get that £155.
That is true.
If you've contracted out, it will be reduced. And in fact, my one, when I got my forecast the other year, would be £119 under the old scheme.
Yeah.
And £32.87 under the new scheme.
Right.
Now, that's a bit of a difference. So in terms of the women...
Well, it's about a £3
difference. It all
difference.
depends on whether they're contracted out or contracted in.
Yeah.
They could be better off actually getting the old basic pension.
They could. And also life expectancy, as Mark rightly pointed out, was also a big factor here as well. And I'm also not entirely sure that when we're talking about the women that are missing out, I'm not entirely comfortable with the fact that people like my mum, who's 70, are on the old pension for life.
Sorry, for life?
Yeah. They don't get the new deal.
Well, I suppose it's like anything. It's because one of the things that's happened also, as a side thing, not only do they... my wife is 57. She won't get a pension till 68.
No. That's right, because the retirement age...
She won't get a bus pass till 68.
Yeah.
Or the winter fuel allowance till 68.
No.
And that's affected everyone.
Yes, but then, Richard, your wife is of a generation whose life expectancy is significantly greater than, say, 2 generations back, which is why those changes are being deferred.
Well, actually, if you look at the facts, there's an awful lot of people, as you know, Matthew...
They're not facts, Richard, they're statistics.
...of cancer in their early years.
Yes, there are.
We're going past a generation who had lifestyles that were totally different to us. My mum's 90, yeah?
Yeah.
And their lifestyles were a lot different.
They also, Richard, they also had far fewer sweet stuff in their diet. So in that sense, if you're going to say that they were maybe smoking, but then they weren't consuming sugar. So if you want to balance out lifestyle, their modern lifestyle, one might argue, could be just as injurious to our health as the lifestyle of generations past. So I think that argument's negated. I'm going to leave you there, if I may. You've obviously been thinking about this in some depth. I believe we have one of the campaigners coming up, is that right?
We've got Anne on line 2.
Morning, Anne.
Oh, hello there. Good morning.
Now, I'm right in thinking you're one of the campaigners involved in this day of action today, is that right?
Yes, I am. I'm one of the co-founders of Women Against state pension inequality.
Right.
And basically, we are aware of all the different, the changes coming in with the state pension law. But also, our campaign basically is about, in relation to the lack of and inadequate notification of the changes to the State Pension Acts of 1995 and 2011, whereby many women did not receive notification until 14 years after the 95 Act. And many women today, actually, they still don't know that they're not going to retire at 60. Our campaign, we believe in equalisation, so I want to get that abundantly clear, but it's about the way these changes were implemented.
OK. Equalisation. You would accept that for decades, men have had a rougher deal than women?
Well, yeah, but...
Well, it's a kind of yes-no. I mean, men did have a rougher deal. They had to work longer.
Well, that was before days of equalisation.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that for decades, men had to work longer than women to get their pension.
That's right.
When you're talking about equalisation, you are only looking at it, from my perception, from the perspective of women today.
Yeah, well, we believe in equalisation. That we believe that men and women should work, to the same age.
Right.
Again, I think you're missing the point. What I'm trying to say is we never received enough notification to plan for our retirement.
No, you've just said, I didn't misunderstand. I'm just trying to work out about equality.
Yeah.
And men suffered inequality for decades. The Baroness Altman, the pensions minister, if you hear me out, the pensions minister accepts that when you introduce a change, you draw a line, there are winners and losers. It is inevitable. When you look at the number of losers, female losers under this change, and you look at how many millions of men had to suffer inequality for decades before, I'm just wondering whether you've got that much of a case.
Well, we have got that much of a case. We've had 4 debates in Parliament because we've got many MPs who are campaigning with WASPI, alongside WASPI. There's an all-party political group that was formed in May, and basically what they are saying is women, in terms of the notification, we were not given that enough time to replan our retirement. We were told we had a psychological contract since we were 15, when most of us started working. So we've worked for over 44 years, and many women today, as I said earlier, still don't know they're not going to retire at 60, but most women received notification on,
sorry, Anne, we're down to the last few seconds. Do you think the taxpayer should find £24.5 billion to compensate these women?
No, we are taxpayers. All I'm saying, we should have what we're entitled to and what we've been promised.
So is that yes or no to the general taxpayer, male and female, finds £24.5 billion to compensate or not?
Well, the taxpayer finds millions of pounds for other initiatives.
So is the answer yes or no? And it's a simple question, yes or no. Should the taxpayer bail them out?
They're not bailing anybody out.
That's not going to answer. OK, thanks very much for the call. Really hope we might get somewhere there. I think I've actually ended up even more confused, Anne, by that call, so thanks. After break, it's Gabby with all the other headlines for you.